Sigmas are known for their independence, strength, and unwavering sense of self. But there are certain behaviors and situations they simply won't tolerate. These aren't just about setting boundaries, they're about protecting their peace, their time, and their values. If you're trying to push a Sigma too far, be warned, they'll walk away without hesitation. In this video, we're diving into the things that Sigmas will never put up with, and why they won't back down when it comes to these deal breakers. Let's get into it. 1. Blind obedience to authority. Sigmas don't play by the rules just because someone slapped a title or badge on themselves. To them, authority isn't about a position, it's about competence and respect. If a leader, boss, or institution is handing out orders that don't make sense or align with their principles, Sigmas will side-eye it hard. And they'll probably be the first to say, yeah, that's not happening. What makes this even more fascinating is that Sigmas aren't loud rebels. They're not out here trying to start a mutiny or make a scene. Their refusal to follow blindly is quiet but resolute. While others might hesitate, worrying about the fallout or how they'll be perceived, Sigmas take a deep breath and trust their gut. For them, it's not about being difficult. It's about standing up for what feels right. Take a work scenario, for instance. Imagine a company rolls out a new policy that requires employees to work unpaid overtime. Most people would grumble, maybe vent in the break room, but ultimately comply because that's just the way it is. A Sigma? Nope. They'd calmly approach HR or leadership, ask the tough questions no one else dares to, and explain why the policy doesn't make sense. Even if it puts them in hot water, they'd rather risk the consequences than betray their values. And here's the thing, they don't do this to be difficult or grab attention. Sigmas aren't the kind to enjoy the spotlight. It's not rebellion for rebellion's sake. It's about staying true to their moral compass. That inner voice that says, this doesn't sit right, is louder than any fear of authority, making them unshakable in situations where others might fold. For Sigmas, authority must be earned, not assumed. They respect people who lead with integrity, intelligence, and fairness, but they'll never bow to someone who tries to wield power without substance. 2. Forced socialization. Sigmas and forced socializing go together, about as well as oil and water. The idea of mingling at a party with people they don't care about, making small talk about the weather, or feigning interest in surface-level chit-chat is enough to make them cringe. For Sigmas, social energy is a precious resource, and they're not about to spend it on people or events that feel meaningless. Now, it's not that Sigmas are antisocial or dislike people. Quite the opposite, they value deep, authentic connections. But the key word here is authentic. If a conversation doesn't go beyond surface-level fluff, they're out. And let's be honest, most social events are filled with, so what do you do, and have you seen the latest trending show kind of talk. Sigmas. They'd rather be home reading, learning something new, or just chilling in their own company. Picture this. A Sigma gets invited to a networking event, the kind where you're supposed to hand out business cards and impress strangers with your elevator pitch. While most people might grin and bear it, Sigmas will either politely decline or, if they do show up, keep to the edges of the room observing. They might engage in a few meaningful conversations with people who seem genuinely interesting, but the moment it starts feeling fake or performative, they're done. Their thought process is simple. Why waste my time and energy pretending to enjoy this when I could be doing something that actually matters to me? It's not laziness or arrogance. It's a laser-focused prioritization of what feels real and fulfilling. Sigmas aren't afraid to set boundaries, even if it means being labeled as aloof or too introverted. They know their peace is worth more than fitting in, and they'll never compromise their values to meet someone else's expectations of social behavior. To them, solitude isn't lonely, it's empowering. And when Sigmas do choose to engage socially, it's with people who ignite their curiosity or share their values. They crave depth. A conversation about philosophy, personal growth, or life's mysteries beats 100 casual chats about last night's game. If you ever get the privilege of talking with a Sigma on their terms, you'll see the richness of their thoughts and the passion they bring to topics that truly matter to them. In a world that often pressures people to socialize for the sake of it, Sigmas take a bold stand. They refuse to trade authenticity for conformity. 3. Being put in a box. You ever feel like someone just slapped a label on you without even knowing the full picture? For Sigmas, this isn't just annoying, it's suffocating. Sigmas value their individuality so much that any attempt to shove them into a predefined role feels like someone trying to shrink-wrap their entire personality. And trust me, that's not a battle anyone is going to win. Society loves its categories, types, labels, hierarchies. You're supposed to either be a leader, a follower, or someone chasing a very specific kind of success. But Sigmas, They're the wild cards. They don't fit neatly into the system because they're not playing by the same rules. While others might lean into societal roles like the ambitious go-getter or the supportive team player, Sigmas take a hard left and say, why not just be myself? Most people seek comfort in roles and definitions because it gives them direction. They find a label and stick with it because it feels safe. Sigmas, however, thrive in ambiguity. They don't need a roadmap to navigate life. In fact, trying to force one on them feels more like a restriction than a guide. They operate outside the conventional systems, whether it's workplace hierarchies, social structures, or even relationship norms, and this often leaves people baffled. Society can't help but try to label what it doesn't understand. And Sigmas, they won't let you. Think about how much of our world revolves around categories. Gender roles dictate how you're supposed to act. Career norms outline where you should be at every stage of life. Even personality tests try to pin you down with types. Sigmas reject all of this because they know they're more complex than any one description could capture. Imagine a Sigma in their 20s deciding to ditch the traditional path of college and corporate jobs to pursue something offbeat, like becoming a digital nomad or starting an eco-friendly business. Everyone around them is climbing the corporate ladder, comparing salaries and stressing about performance reviews. Meanwhile, the Sigma is working from a beach in Bali or a cabin in the mountains, carving out their own unique definition of success. When asked why they don't just settle down and get a stable job, they might shrug and say, why would I want that? Here's where things get interesting. While people often struggle to understand this approach, Sigmas thrive in their freedom. Without the pressure to conform, they can fully explore their passions and talents. They're not afraid to fail because they're not playing anyone else's game, they're making their own rules. This individuality isn't just a quirk. It's the reason Sigmas are often trailblazers in their fields, whether it's tech, art, or entrepreneurship. At the end of the day, Sigmas don't just avoid being put in a box, they tear the box apart, recycle it, and use the materials to build something entirely their own. For superficial relationships, let's talk about connections or lack thereof. Sigmas aren't into the whole let's pretend to be besties for Instagram likes thing. They crave relationships that mean something, and anything less than that feels like a waste of their energy. If a relationship doesn't have depth, whether it's romantic, platonic, or even professional, they'd rather bow out gracefully than stick around for the sake of appearances. For Sigmas, relationships aren't about convenience or keeping up appearances. They're about authenticity, mutual respect, and most importantly, connection. And if that's not on the table, they're out faster than you can say small talk. While others might tolerate surface-level relationships because it's easier or less lonely, Sigmas see them as emotionally draining. They don't have the patience for fake pleasantries or the kind of friendships that only exist because it's socially convenient. Sigmas value their energy, and they're not about to waste it on someone who's only there when it benefits them. Picture this. A Sigma has a friend who only calls when they need a favor. Maybe at first, the Sigma gives them the benefit of the doubt, thinking, they're just busy, it's not a big deal. But over time, the pattern becomes obvious. The friend only reaches out when they need something. A Sigma doesn't do dramatic confrontations, so instead they quietly step back. No need for explanations or arguments. They just recognize the lack of depth and decide it's not worth their time. Sigmas are also keen observers. They'll notice the little signs of inauthenticity, like when someone's overly nice but their actions don't match their words, or when someone's attention feels more transactional than genuine. These are red flags for a Sigma, and once they spot them, they're done. If there's no depth, there's no point. Sigmas live by this mantra. They'd rather have a handful of meaningful relationships than a Rolodex of shallow acquaintances. To them, it's not about how many people you know, it's about how well you know them, and more importantly, how well they know you. This isn't just about avoiding drama, it's about protecting their peace. Sigmas are naturally introspective and value their alone time. Superficial relationships disrupt that balance, draining energy that could be better spent on personal growth or meaningful interactions. By cutting out the noise, they create space for deeper, more fulfilling connections. When you're close to a Sigma, you know it's real. They're not sticking around out of convenience or obligation. They've chosen you because they see something genuine in you, and they're willing to invest their time and energy into that connection. But if the relationship doesn't meet their standards, they'll walk away without a second thought, not out of coldness, but out of respect for themselves. At the end of the day, Sigmas don't do superficial. They do meaningful, and that's why their relationships, though few, are some of the most profound you'll ever encounter. 5. Constant validation seeking. Have you ever been around someone who just needs constant approval to feel okay about themselves? For Sigmas, this behavior is like nails on a chalkboard. They're fiercely independent and self-assured, so watching someone bend over backward to get a pat on the back feels both exhausting and baffling. It's not that Sigmas dislike people who seek validation, it's more that they genuinely don't understand the need for it. Sigmas are hardwired to derive their confidence from within. They don't rely on external praise to feel secure about their choices or accomplishments. This makes it incredibly hard for them to relate to people who are constantly fishing for compliments or reassurance. If someone's entire personality revolves around being liked or approved by others, a Sigma will probably check out of that relationship pretty quickly. Most people want some level of validation. It's human nature. But for Sigmas, external approval is at the bottom of their priority list. They don't care if others agree with them, and they certainly don't live for applause. This mindset is what sets them apart. While others might seek comfort or motivation in the opinions of friends, family, or colleagues, Sigmas look inward. They trust their instincts and decisions, even if no one else gets it. Sigmas are also incredibly low maintenance in this regard. They don't need constant encouragement or someone telling them they're doing a good job. In fact, they might even feel uncomfortable with excessive praise, so when they encounter people who thrive on validation, it creates a disconnect. Picture a workplace setting. There's a colleague who constantly needs the boss's approval. Every email they send is followed by a, "Did you see it? Was it okay?" Every project is accompanied by a dozen questions like, "Am I doing this right?" Sigmas, on the other hand, are the opposite. They'll complete their work confidently and move on. If someone is constantly seeking reassurance, it not only slows things down but also drains the Sigma's energy. Over time, the Sigma will naturally distance themselves, not because they're rude, but because they don't have the patience for that kind of emotional dependency. Sigmas believe, you've got to know your worth without needing someone else to tell you. To them, relying on others for validation is like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in the bottom. It's never-ending and ultimately unfulfilling. Sigmas, instead, focus on being self-sufficient emotionally, and they gravitate toward people who do the same. This doesn't mean Sigmas are cold or unsupportive. They're actually great at encouraging others, but they have a limit. If someone is overly dependent on validation, the Sigma will recognize that this relationship is one-sided and step back. They thrive in environments where people are confident, independent, and self-aware. Anything less feels like emotional clutter. At the end of the day, Sigmas value authenticity and self-reliance. They'd rather spend their time with people who know their worth and don't need the constant reassurance of others to feel it. 6. Groupthink. Ever been in a room where everyone agrees on something and you can't help but think, am I the only one seeing the flaws here? That's how Sigmas feel 99% of the time. They're natural skeptics who don't just accept popular opinions because everyone else does. Instead, they question, analyze, and challenge ideas to make sure they hold up under scrutiny. For Sigmas, groupthink isn't just frustrating, it's dangerous. They know how easily bad ideas can spread when people stop thinking for themselves. While most people find comfort in the safety of collective beliefs, Sigmas see it as a trap. They value independent thought above all else, even if it means going against the grain. Most people find security in agreement. It's easier to go along with the crowd than to risk standing out, especially if challenging the group could lead to conflict or rejection. But Sigmas don't care about fitting in or being liked. Their primary concern is truth and logic. If something doesn't make sense to them, they'll say so, no matter how unpopular their opinion might be. This makes Sigmas incredibly reliable as critical thinkers. They don't follow trends, jump on bandwagons, or take things at face value. They'll dig deeper, ask tough questions, and form their own conclusions. It's not about being contrarian for the sake of it. It's about refusing to let others think for them. Imagine a team meeting where everyone is excited about a new project idea. The majority agrees it's brilliant, but the Sigma in the room spots a major flaw. While others are nodding along, the Sigma raises their hand and says, "What about this issue? Have we thought about how it could backfire?" At first, the room might go quiet. Some people might even get defensive, but eventually they'll realize the Sigma has a point. By questioning the group's assumptions, the Sigma saves everyone from potential disaster. It's this ability to see beyond the collective mindset that makes Sigmas stand out as leaders and innovators. Sigmas live by the mantra, "I'll follow only if the logic checks out." While their skepticism can sometimes make them unpopular, Sigmas wouldn't have it any other way. They'd rather be seen as difficult than compromise their integrity, and more often than not, their willingness to challenge the status quo earns them respect in the long run. Sigmas don't shy away from the crowd. They simply refuse to get lost in it. They stand firm in their beliefs, even if it means standing alone. 7. Wasting their time. You know that feeling when someone hijacks your time with endless chit-chat, pointless meetings, or just plain inefficiency. Now imagine being a Sigma, someone who values time as their most precious resource. For Sigmas, wasting time isn't just a minor annoyance. It's an outright violation of their personal philosophy. Time, to a Sigma, isn't just minutes ticking away. It's an opportunity to learn, grow, and create. Every hour represents potential to refine a skill, explore a passion, or simply recharge their mental batteries. So, when someone drags them into a situation that feels pointless, you can bet they'll either find a way out or never let it happen again. Most people get annoyed when their time is wasted, but Sigmas take it to a whole new level. They're hyper-aware of how time contributes to their personal growth and success. Unlike others who might let inefficiencies slide out of politeness or social obligation, Sigmas treat time management like an art form. Every decision about how to spend their time is intentional, and they're not about to let anyone else throw a wrench in their plans. Picture this. A Sigma is on a phone call with an old acquaintance. At first, the conversation is enjoyable, maybe even productive. But soon it takes a turn into meaningless gossip or complaints about trivial matters. While most people might awkwardly sit through it, a Sigma will gracefully but firmly cut the call short. They'll say something polite like, "I've got a lot on my plate today, let's catch up another time," and then move on. It's not about being rude, it's about protecting their valuable time for things that actually matter. Sigmas understand that time is finite. They're not the kind of people who fill their schedules with busy work just to feel productive. Instead, they prioritize tasks and activities that align with their goals, whether it's advancing in their career, pursuing a passion project, or simply enjoying a moment of solitude. To them, every wasted minute is a missed opportunity, and they take that seriously. Sigmas are also deeply introspective, and they need time alone to recharge and reflect. When others demand their attention for unnecessary reasons, it disrupts that flow and leaves them feeling drained. This is why Sigmas are selective about the people they spend time with. They prefer quality interactions over quantity. By fiercely guarding their time, Sigmas can focus on what truly matters. They don't let distractions or inefficiencies derail their progress, which is one of the reasons they're often so successful in their pursuits. And while this may make them seem aloof or unapproachable to some, those who truly know them understand that it's not personal, it's just how Sigmas operate. At the end of the day, a Sigma's time is sacred. They won't waste it, and they won't let anyone else waste it either. 8. Unnecessary drama. Drama, it's the one thing Sigmas will always steer clear of. They're not about that life of petty conflicts, emotional manipulation, or drawn-out arguments. If there's one thing Sigmas value above all else, it's their peace of mind. And drama, it's the enemy of peace. Sigmas thrive in environments that are calm, balanced, and productive. When chaos and emotional games rear their heads, they don't engage, they disengage. It's not that they don't care, it's that they refuse to waste their emotional energy on things that don't matter. For Sigmas, emotional energy is a finite resource. They're not the type to dive into every conflict or get caught up in the theatrics of life. Instead, they reserve their emotional bandwidth for things that truly matter. Things like building meaningful relationships, solving real problems, or pursuing their goals. While some people might secretly enjoy the thrill of drama or use it as a way to stay connected with others, Sigmas see it as a massive distraction. They'd rather address issues directly and move on than get caught in a cycle of gossip, passive aggressiveness, or never-ending arguments. Imagine a family gathering where tensions are running high. Someone makes a passive-aggressive comment, and before you know it, an argument breaks out. Most people might feel obligated to jump in, defend themselves, or take sides. Not a Sigma. They'll quietly get up, grab a drink, and step outside for some fresh air. They're not about to let someone else's chaos pull them into a situation that adds zero value to their life. It's not that they're indifferent to the people involved, they just know their limits. They understand that engaging in unnecessary drama rarely leads to anything productive, and they'd rather preserve their energy for things that actually matter. Sigmas have a knack for diffusing drama without making a scene. Sometimes they'll address the issue directly, cutting through the noise with calm and logic. Other times, they'll simply remove themselves from the situation, letting things play out without their involvement. Either way, they make it clear that they're not interested in escalating the conflict. By avoiding unnecessary drama, Sigmas maintain a sense of inner calm that others often envy. They don't let trivial conflicts weigh them down, and they're able to focus on what truly matters in life. This not only helps them stay grounded, but also sets them apart as individuals who prioritize peace over chaos. Sigmas don't just avoid drama, they actively protect themselves from it. And in doing so, they create a life that's not only more peaceful, but also more fulfilling.